So you want to have your SP. You want to have your specific person. You want to have your ex back. You want to have your ideal relationship. Maybe you haven't met your person yet. It doesn't really matter. Uh, the funniest thing that has been happening over the past few days has been having conversations with you guys in the community, all of you, and being able to talk about what you truly want and desire. And the funniest thing about the process is people really don't know what it is that they truly want. And I don't mean that in the sense that people don't understand what kind of relationship that they want or what kind of like love they want. That's not the case. That's not what I'm referring to. What I mean is people don't know what they actually desire because we think or we believe what we desire is the other person. I want the other person in my life. I want my ex back. I want this specific person back. When that isn't necessarily the case, the true SP and the true person that we want in our lives is you. A particular version of you. And in the sessions that I've had with people, especially today, because I had 3 sessions today, and in each session, the SP or the person that I had the people in the session manifest was themselves. Even though we talked about a specific person, the real, true person that they were manifesting that they've desired was a version of you, yourself. Whoever that you happens to be. And this goes into like the conversation around naturalness. And I was actually reading Neville Goddard a little bit earlier, and I was like, oh, that actually fits very well with what I was like working on. And I opened up the book just randomly and went to like Your Faith is Your Fortune. So it's one of my books that I love from Neville Goddard. Went to chapter 9, which is about the foundation stone. Now if man build upon this foundation gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, stubble, every man's work shall be made manifest, for the day shall declare it. Let every man take heed how he buildeth thereon, for other foundations can no man lay than that is laid, which is Jesus Christ. Which is supposed to it's Corinthians 3 10 through 13. That's supposed to be referring to the fact that the true foundation is what was referred to as Jesus Christ, or your I am consciousness. It's this consciousness which is the foundation of our being. No matter what you do in terms of what you're trying to manifest, the thing that you are ultimately manifesting is your being, your consciousness of being. And when we talk about manifesting a specific person, what I've noticed in the conversations with people is we are actually working on making them conscious of manifesting in that moment the being of who they want to be in that relationship, who they want to be in regards or in relationship to the other person, which is very interesting and funny. Because there is only a single power. There's no evil. It's only one power. In the book, Neville was referring to it as there is only one power and there is only one God or consciousness. It kills, it makes alive, it wounds, it heals, it does all things good, bad, or indifferent. So when we start talking about manifesting or creating things, we're all using the same power, whether we're manifesting a unlovely experience, which is might be the experience of being lonely or unhappy, or waiting for somebody to message us, or it's the same when we manifest love and warmth and the feeling of another person's skin pressed up against ours as we snuggle up to them in bed and feel them snuggle back. And because of the nature of being is being like a very subtle thing, Like, it's not very obvious. Like, I can't, like, as I'm sitting here, you may not be aware of how I'm being. The way that you're sitting right now, where you're sitting, even though you may look the same to everyone else on the outside, at any given moment, you could be conscious of another form of being. You may feel free and relaxed, sitting in a chair, relaxed because you know that tomorrow is a day off where you just get to sit back, relax, and feel at peace. Or you may feel imprisoned to the idea that you have to get up at a certain period of time. And even though the reality of the situation around you may be the same in both instances, the thing that's different is your consciousness of being, how you feel in that given moment. And that's why I liked in Neville's book and the conversations I was having with people before, which was essentially like asking better questions. Because one of the easiest ways to unlock yourself from any prison of any situation that you find yourself in is to ask yourself a question. Ask yourself specifically an empowering question. And I liked in the book, the question that he asks is like, regardless of your problem, its duration or its magnitude, careful attention to these instructions will, in an amazingly short time, eliminate even the memory of the problem. Ask yourself the question, how would I feel if I were free? The very moment you sincerely ask the question, the answer comes. No man can tell another the satisfaction of the desire fulfilled. It remains for each within himself to experience the feeling of joy and automatic change in consciousness. The feeling or thrill that comes to one in response to his self-questioning is the father state of consciousness, or the foundation stone upon which conscious change is built. Just how this feeling will embody itself, no one knows, but it will. The Father consciousness has ways that no man, Romans 11:33, it's an inalterable law, or an unalterable law. And to be honest, that's really what I do in most of the work with clients. Is I ask a similar version of that question. How would you feel if you were in your relationship? How would you feel if your person was laying in bed next to you? How would you feel if you were on this date? How would you feel with that ring on your finger? I talk to my lovely people here, and I essentially spend time asking the question to figure out what's the type of situation that you want, and then tailor some version of that question to you, and give you the opportunity to allow the Father within you, that foundational consciousness, to answer it. Because the only way that you can speak that state is if you speak what you desire. You speak what you truly want. And there are like two phases in the answer that people give. The first phase is where they consciously answer in an objective way, which means that most people, when they answer that question, it will usually be surface level or object, where they will describe the situation or what they want. And sometimes I have to like be like a shepherd and corral people back to what they want, because they may start talking about someone and then start talking about a situation that they didn't enjoy. When in actuality, that ends up manifesting what they don't want. So I'm like, hey, back to this. How would it feel if you had that date? And it's like, well, this person ended up doing this. It's like, wait a minute. That's not what you want. We want to make sure that we stay on topic. Let's rein it back in, rein your language back in, so that you speak out what it is that you desire. So in my 3 conversations today, the 3 desires that came up, the first one was, at first it was being asked out. It was this gentleman who wants to be asked out at the gym. He wants somebody, he had just manifested one of the things that he'd never received before, which was being messaged by somebody on the dating apps that he was on, and then going out on a date with them. It happened 2 times. One dating app, he received a message and then went on a date with that person last week. So that was one. Number two was another person from Match.com messaged him, and then they started talking, and then he was planning on whether or not he wanted to go on a date with this person during the actual week, this week. So I was basically talked him through that process, and we also discussed like, hey, this is what you wanted. Let's also talk about you getting asked out and getting dates, or people asking you out on dates when you're at the gym, because that's one of the other desires that you have. But his big desire is having his loving relationship where there's connection, commitment, and they go out on dates, and there's this mutual desire between the two of them, and they're connected. And I had him voice out what that desire was. He spoke it. And because he spoke it, he put out the energy, he put his attention onto it, which was great. That was phase one. Phase two that I move people through into after asking that question is to get them to embody it. The first time we talk about it is objective, which means that we're thinking about the thing. It's an object. It's just there. It's a concept. The second time we do it, I will usually tell people to close their eyes and ask them what it is like in relation to them, like they are actually there in the moment. That's when we move from objectivity to subjectivity, which means that we are now not only thinking of the moment, but we are thinking of the moment from their perspective. We are adding them into the scene in connection with the object. So it's not just the object or the date or the kiss as a concept. It's how is this kiss in relation to me, my lips, my face? How is the date in relation to me, sitting down at the table? What is this in relation to me? That's when we move from objectivity, which is just this concept, to subjectivity, which is I am actually here experiencing this object that I have now said that I want to experience. And then we practice that. That's what happens in all my sessions with people. So that was the first one. Second one I did later on during the day was a session where for her, our process was going through all the stuff that manifested, because she's been manifesting stuff over the past week, and then setting out specific things that she wants to manifest. We talked about a specific kind of date by a specific date. So we talked about a specific date and a specific dinner, and she wanted this dinner. She wanted flowers was another thing that she desired, and she wanted to have late night texts. Late night calls. So these were the things that she said that she wanted. And when she said that, we, of course, first listed out what is it that you actually want. You want this kind of date. You want flowers because flowers is something that's important to you. Why is this important to you? You want that kind of date. Let's explore it. And then we went into the actual subjective state where she was sitting at the table at the date and having the conversation with her date and enjoying it and indulging in all of the feelings and experiencing the consciousness of being on the date, not just thinking of the idea where it's like, oh, it's over there. No, it's spending time in the actual conscious state of being until it becomes comfortable, until it becomes part of your nature. Because what we're trying to do and what we're working on in any of these scenarios is we are not trying to manifest the other person. We're not trying to manifest the tables with the tablecloth and the food on the table. None of that is important. What we are manifesting in that moment is a shift in the state of being for the person, a shift in the identity, where you are no longer identifying with the old state of being. Because anytime that people come to me, ultimately what all of you are coming to me for is the fact that you are in the state or the identity of being single, and you want to shift and transform into the state of being coupled, whether that's being boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. You want to go from single or divorced, whatever it happens to be, to together, to the version of you that is wife, where you get to say, I am a wife. Some people have a particular person that they want in their experience while they're in the state or the identity of I am a wife, I am a husband, I am a boyfriend, I am a girlfriend. But that's irrelevant. That's not the thing that's important. The thing that's important is the shift in consciousness where they're able to say, how would I feel? And they answer the question, or you answer the question of how does it feel now that I am this person, this identity, this version of myself. And you're trying it on like a pair of clothes. And I really liked in the book how they use the example of clothes, where Neville wrote that all things express their nature. As you wear a feeling, it becomes your nature. It might take a moment or a year. It is entirely dependent on the degree of conviction. As doubts vanish and you can feel, I am this, you begin to develop the fruit or the nature of the thing you're feeling yourself to be. When a person buys a new hat or pair of shoes, he thinks everyone knows that they're new. He feels unnatural with his newly acquired apparel until it becomes a part of him. The same applies to wearing the new states of consciousness. When you ask yourself the question, how would I feel if my desire were at this moment realized? The automatic reply, until it is properly conditioned by time and use, is actually disturbing. It's completely different. It feels weird. The period of adjustment to realize the potential of consciousness is comparable to the newness of wearing apparel. Not knowing that consciousness is ever outpicturing in condition around you, like Lot's wife, you continually look back upon your problem again, become hypnotized by its seeming naturalness. And that's Genesis 19. And that's one of the things that we do in our processes, is to make people ignore whatever the heck is happening outside of yourself, because that is usually old thoughts outpictured. And if you allow them to change how you feel, your state of being, then you continue the process. Because if it's a full cycle where you think a certain way, you feel a certain way, which produces the results, the manifestations in your experience. And because those manifestations come in your experience are an echo of how you feel, it's a full circuit. So because that thing shows up in your experience, you now use that as an excuse to feel the same way. And now you feel the same way, the manifestation must continue to remain in that picture. And then you feel that way again, because you're like, hey, you point this out, you point to the memory, you're like, hey, I have this memory, this is what's happening in my experience. And then it's like, well, that's a cycle. That's why I'm never concerned with the fact of whether something is true or not, because all statements to some degree are true. We don't care about what's true, we care about what you prefer to experience. Because if you focus on something long enough, you will make it true. So our process is not to pay attention to all possibilities, but to understand that our attention to a specific thing makes us have it feel more natural. I need to get this lights fixed. These lights, we have specialized lights here inside of the room, which swap between daylight and like night light, and they need to get fixed. Anyway, where was I? The act of wearing the new feeling in the beginning will feel like wearing new clothes. If you haven't noticed this, I love this sweater. This is one of my quarter zip black turtleneck and the hat cap. When I first put on the cap, it felt new. It felt different. But the more that I've worn this little wool cap, because it's been cold here, the more and more comfortable I've become with it. And the more it just feels like it's just part of me. It's just there. The same thing with my Rudrashka beads. I've worn these Rudrashka beads for, I want to say, I think I got these early. I had Rudrashka beads prior to this, several different kinds. But whenever I have Rudrashka beads, in the beginning, I pay attention to them and they're there. But over time, they've just become a part of me. I don't take them off. I just wear them all the time. The only time I take them off is if I'm using them in meditation. But they feel as though that they're a part of me. There's a naturalness, a newness. There's a naturalness that comes through the fact that this has been in contact with my body. And my body, the memory of my body, as far back as it can remember in its short-term memory, is just filled with the feeling of having this against my skin. So the thing that actually feels unnatural to me is if I take it off, because the act of taking it off is now something that my memory is like, wait, this is not how your right wrist feels. This is something that's different. Ultimately, when we're doing any of our processes, trying to manifest anything, what we're doing is we're basically putting on a new article of clothing, a new article in our identity, and we are wearing it into our identity until it feels natural for us. We say the statements or feel the feelings of being in relationship until it feels natural to us, until it feels normal. And the process of stuff like Neville Goddard's state akin to sleep is an opportunity for us to rehearse a scene until the feeling and the identity becomes natural. Where when we wake up in the daytime, it's just, oh no, this is just who I am. And when people come, there's oftentimes a desire for something that may be drastically different from their current experience. And the thing that's very big in their experience and in their memory and in their physical feeling is this large problem, which might be something related to money. It might be something related to relationships. It might be something related to their health. For me right now, it happens to be the nose. If you've seen me in any of my sessions or any of my recent videos, it's a big thing. It's there. But the way that I've been helping it is by removing my attention from it. Making sure that I'm cleaning and clearing any of the stuff that this is bringing to my attention, because it's forcing me to let go of a lot of things. It's forcing me to let go of physical things in my space that no longer serve me, that I don't need. So that's energy and things that are just being tossed away, burnt, thrown away. We're cleaning and clearing, and I'm making decisions on the things that are in my experience about whether or not I want them to be here. Which is very good, because as I move into a new state in my life, just like you guys, you get to decide, what do I want to take with me? When you decide that you want a new relationship or a new life, you have to decide, what are the things that you want to take with you? Because you can't take everything with you. If you want to have a good relationship, guess what? You can't take every friendship that you have with you. You can't take every habit with you. You can't be the same person and do the same things and have the ideal relationship that you want. In terms of my relationships, like for me, I'm a father. My daughter's 2.5. In the next few months, she'll be turning 3. Because of that relationship, there are that identity. There are certain things that I can't do anymore. I can't curse as freely as I did when I was younger, because I didn't have somebody around me who was soaking up everything I do like a sponge. I didn't have to consider what I'm going to do at any given time during the day, because I need to make sure that she's, taken care of, and, have her mom around and make sure that they're both good. I can't just get up and travel like I did before. I can't play any sort of music or audio without having a moment of reflection about whether or not I want to add this into the pattern of my daughter's mind. So I have to be more mindful about the things that I consume. I have to be more mindful about the foods that I consume. I have to be more mindful about the people that I bring around my space and around my place and the things that I do, because the relationship that I have has changed me. It requires me to be different. I I have old friendships with friends that I had at one point that I can't have anymore because they're not conducive to me being a good father. The same will be the same with relationships. If you want to be a good husband and a good wife, there are things that you have to leave behind. There are old things that maybe desires or things that you've done or things that you want to do that you will no longer be able to do. I don't play video games like I used to. That used to be my identity. My identity was a gamer. I don't do that. I can't. I have a different identity. And if I do end up playing games, it has to be in a context that makes sense with my new identity as being a father. The same will happen with you as a wife or a husband or a boyfriend or a girlfriend. You can't go on dating apps the same way. You can't post anything that you want. You can't necessarily post a thirst trap unless you unless you really don't care that much about the thought process of your significant other. You can't post or say anything because what you post, what you share, what you speak, who you spend time around shows your priorities as an individual and as a person. And as you try on the new clothes, old things just kind of won't fit in as well anymore. And the fun thing about the processes that I've done with my one-to-one clients is getting them to try on new clothes, to get them to try on new words, to ask questions to get them to try on new feelings, and to let them know, like, no, you don't need to buy anything to get to that point. You don't need to buy into you don't need to buy into your current reality right now. You can buy or try on something new. Ask yourself these questions. I had another person. Our conversation was talking about what is his he had a dream particular date, which was and it was simple. It was a coffee date, but it's a particular type of coffee date. Is meeting a woman and having this mutual desire and this ease in conversation where it's like, I love talking to you so much. I'm going to blow off everything else and we're just going to sit here and just drink more coffee and talk. And it just there's this security in knowing that, like, we both want each other, and we're talking, and um we're deeply intertwined in this conversation and deeply intertwined in each other. And it's like everything I say you want to listen to and you want to hear, and everything you say just feels like music or butter. I was going to say butter to my ears, but not butter to my ears, but music to my ears, or the butter to my bread. It's just so lovely and wonderful to hear the sound of your voice. And that's what he wants. He didn't need any person there. He just decided that in the conversation, when I asked a question, that he was going to go into that state. And after he explained the objective reality that he wanted, which was this certain kind of date, this certain kind of connection, this ting where you look at each other in the eyes and you're like, yeah, I want you and you want me, and let's talk, let's explore. I want to know more about you. And every word that they say just draws you in closer and closer, and you ask yourself the question, like, where have you been all my life? That's what he wanted. And after we set the objective, I told him to take a breath, close his eyes, and experience that subjective reality. Experience from the subject or the article of I, the I am consciousness. I am there at that date. What is that like? Sitting across from her and getting you guys meet eyes, and you're drawn in, and you could see the glint of desire in their eyes. What does it feel like to feel that connection? To feel drawn in? To feel that warmth and that desire, to see that smile, that hair behind the ear, those telltale signs that are just telling you to come over here. You just sit down and you see that smile, that welcoming energy, and you guys connect, sitting down together, talking, and time just seems to melt away as the two of you look into each other's eyes and just Enjoy the moments as they wash away. Because there is no time, there's only just you and me. And I saw how he changed. I saw how he felt in those moments. When I asked her the question about her date, it was another call, and I asked her about receiving those flowers. I watched her face soften. I saw the corners of her eyes turn up as her smile grew wide. I could see the joy. I could see that she felt appreciated. I could see that she was trying on the identity of being appreciated, of receiving that gift. In her physical experience, nobody had been there. Nobody knocked on her door yet, but she heard the knock. She walked down her stairs in her mind and connected with him. And she gave him a hug and really took a moment to bask in that gentle kiss as they connected, and she softly thanked him for giving her flowers, something that she's always wanted. Always wanted. And I got to sit there and watch as she gave that gift to herself. All I did was just give her the space to experience it. To see the relaxation and the joy on her face. It was done. Because the true manifestation is nothing outside of ourselves. It is the feeling, the foundation stone of our own consciousness. In that moment, she was. She felt that she was in that relationship. There was nothing else. The world dissolved and there was only that. That's what I love helping people get to. Because when you hypnotize yourself into that and you feel the naturalness, the object loses its objectivity and you become exactly what you want. And then you start having funny things come up. It was actually funny. One of the things that she said during our session was things, she's getting a lot of signs for things that she put out, that she manifested. And she was like, yeah, I put it out into the algorithm and they're showing up all over the place. And I was like, I kind of like that. Like putting stuff into like the vibrational algorithm and then having them pop up in the feed of your life around you. And there's another thing that happened in the feed of experience, which was like I have another client, and her person's name is Matt, and Matt has a particular look, and it's very interesting, and it's funny because me and Stephanie, we went over to check out ranches. There's this company that I love on Instagram. They had a grand opening event on Saturday for a ranch that they're opening up in Florida. It's a huge property, Bonopolia Ranch in Sebring, Florida. It's a few thousand acres, and each parcel, they have like over 100 parcels that are like 10 acres each. And I went to go check it out, and I told Stephanie that she was going to end up bumping into some little family, some little mommy, and her and Sophia were going to have an awesome time connecting and, having fun and enjoying themselves. Well, sure enough, that happened. We bumped into another mommy. There were a whole bunch of moms with their babies there. Lots of really very family oriented event on this beautiful, beautiful land where this ranch was so huge that everywhere you looked, as far as the eye can see, everything you saw was the ranch, which was like absolutely amazing, to say the very least. It was breathtaking to be there. Flatlands, trees, water features with these ponds that were gorgeous and beautiful. There were a couple of, it had a couple of wild Mustangs that ran around the property, so it had a couple of them going all over the place, and then the cows. So it was super nice. But Stephanie had found this mom, their little son, a little blonde boy. Him and Sophia were around the same age, so they were talking. Sophia wanted to play with this car toy, and naturally, I looked at the mom and I was like, she reminds me of somebody. And then it hit me. She reminded me of this client, of this one person. And funnily enough, I started talking to her husband. I was like, her husband reminds me of somebody. And I shook her husband's hand, introduced himself. And he's like, hi, my name's Matt. The specific person for my client, that's his name. His name's Matt. So I found that funny. I was like, what's funny? That wife looks like my client. They look similar. So it's just a funny little piece, a funny little thing there, a funny little glimpse into the possible future between my client and her specific person. Them going off, enjoying their time together. It's really nice. Lovely family. They actually just so happen to live not too far away from us, so we're actually going to be going over to their housewarming party this weekend. So that'll be nice. So cool little thing there. But that's what happens when you indulge in the feeling, when you go in deep, you begin to put out very clear intentions, very clear frequencies of the things that you desire. And ultimately, you get to try on a new identity. And as you rehearse it and it becomes natural, you'll be clothed in the circumstances and experiences that allow you to just feel and be in that state for as long as you want, until you feel as though it no longer fits you and you want to feel and experience something else. Because now, I'm a father. I want to be a father of more kids. And I know at a certain point, my desire will be to move into the identity of being a grandfather. And I know it'll be fun when I get to that point. I'm looking forward to it. And after I get this house and the ranch, I'll be a ranch owner. And I know that once I end up getting that, I'll have other desires and other identities that I want to move into. So for you, what are the desires? What are the identities that you want to move into? What are the states of being, the states of consciousness that you want to experience? And spend a little bit of time indulging. Let me know down in the comments, because this was a pretty long video, but let me know in the comments what's the clothes of the identity that you want to experience for the next year, for 2025, because you're trucking into the new year. So let me know down below. See you guys there. Talk to you later.